You don't really hear people talk about haters quite as much anymore. I think everybody's realized how truly absurd that term was back when you used to hear celebrities and kids and everybody be like, um, they're just a bunch of haters. I love haters. I love my haters. Which, of course, is a way of saying, I'm so upset about my haters. But you don't really hear people talk about haters anymore. But I still think the same sort of logic applies, and especially in our overconnected world, the way things are today. Um, I think that people mistake indifference for hatred. And if someone's indifferent toward you, I think that's a win-win. Um, we want everybody to like us, and then literally like these things we use, social media, people like this, and by liking your post, they like you or they love you, whatever it is. Um, but I think that we mistake indifference, whether it's on social media or whatever else, we mistake that indifference for this hatred. We feel hated. We feel not liked. And indifference, like I said, it's a win-win. Deals off. Nobody loses, nobody wins. So we shouldn't be so worried about indifference. I'm indifferent toward everything. I'm not indifferent toward everything. I'm indifferent toward many things, and that's how I survive. If I wasn't indifferent toward many things, I would lose my fucking mind. I'd be a body laying here right now with a gun next to me. So I'm thankful for that kind of indifference, and I feel like everybody should be thankful that other people are indifferent toward them, because you can then be indifferent toward them. That's the deal. The deal's not off. The deal's on. And I hate to mention social media. I hate to talk about that because I feel like this is something that goes much deeper. Because I remember pre-internet, it goes back to this junior high sort of mindset, like, as people say, when the cliques develop. When the cliques develop, and even back then, I remember people thinking that if someone was indifferent toward them, if you didn't get invited to the party, if somebody did this or did that, they hated you. But you don't really know that. Sometimes they do. And if someone does hate you, but they don't express that, that's, once again, a win-win. Because if they're expressing that, they're throwing this anger and agitation at you, and you're going to feel awful. But if someone hates you, but they just keep it to themselves, or keep it to a small circle of people, cool. They're not trying to ruin your day. So I think people need to kind of reprogram their minds as far as their relationship goes to indifference, or, like hate by omission, or I don't know how to phrase that. Like if someone omits their hate, they're doing you a favor, so why do you want to know? You want to be liked? Well, find people who like you. I think a lot about, relatability, and something that I struggle with is being understood. Not necessarily being misunderstood, but just being understood. Or being I struggle to have people, I feel like people don't relate to me, and a lot of that's my fault. And nobody owes you understanding. Nobody owes you the ability to relate. But as the creatures that we are, we want to relate. And as groups come together, we become more alike. You can have 5 people who are completely different, and if circumstances put them together, in the end, they're going to be more alike than they are not, assuming they don't hate each other. So, I don't know, this is something I think about a lot, because I do think that a large part of our collective unhappiness, because people are miserable. People are truly fucking miserable, and it's obvious. The way they lash out about politics, social issues, even though those things are important, the way that they express them clearly shows that they're coming from a place of just complete misery. I care about this, and you should care about this. I care. I'm on this team, and you're on that team. It's terrible what goes on. And so there's so much misery. As this thing got cut off, I had a whole bunch more I said, and I didn't realize that this had a limit. It's frustrating. But as I was saying, there's so much emphasis on joining this team, and if someone doesn't explicitly express that they are on your team, you have a tendency to think that they are on the other team, and there's always another team. There's no spectrum. The way that the way people think, whether they're programmed to think that way or whether it's natural, I don't really know. But there's a tendency to think that if someone omits their affiliation with a particular team, that means they're not on your team. They're on the opposite team. And the sad thing is, though, is that with these teams, we see where they cannibalize. It's not just being on one team or another. It's when you're on one team. Look at what's going on, with the progressive left, where people are completely eating each other alive, splitting hairs and finding reasons to, hurt each other. And it's really if they are a team, if they do have this collective goal, they are absolutely destroying their chances of realizing that goal by destroying themselves. And I'm not saying that conversations shouldn't happen, or that people can't be critical of their own friends or allies or whatever else. I've grown to despise that term ally. I feel like it's very loaded. But within these teams, within this emphasis on teams, it's not just one team against the other, but it's the team destroying itself. And I think we need to completely distance ourselves from that. And we're also, we also respond to indifference by thinking that indifference is our enemy. That indifference is out to get us. If someone doesn't like me, if someone doesn't like my post, what's the problem? If you don't have to worry about somebody explicitly expressing something toward you, then you can just deal with yourself and do your thing. And if you're able to do your thing, you're doing exactly what you need to do. But I think the problem with that is, like I was saying, people are miserable. So when they're forced to do their thing means hating themselves. Their thing means destroying themselves, and looking in the mirror, which is really fucking hard for people. So I think that's one reason why people are so vocal about their team affiliation. And it's funny because I love football. And I think one of the reasons I love football is because I can choose a team. For that hour, football games are like 4 hours long because of commercials. I'm allowed to be like, they're wearing that color and they're cheering against my team. I hate them, how dare they? How dare they fucking like another team? I love that I can embrace that primitive tribal element for just a little bit each day and just hate that player who I don't care about at all. It could be anybody. But that's kind of how I get that out, because I think there is something very natural to that. So I think that's a healthy outlet. And what's funny, though, is, and I'm not saying anybody needs to like sports, because football is really the only sport I like. So I'm not saying you need to like sports at all. But I think that I've seen a funny little correlation between people who are like, sports ball, sports are for idiots, who instead project all that team energy into these social and political issues, which are, of course, very important. But I think it's the team energy that is poisoning their end goal. And I think if you can get the team, the need to be affiliated with a tribe, because in this world we're beyond all that. You have your little tribes that you create, your little subcultures, your groups of friends, your network, but the need to be a part of this big overarching team that you depend upon for survival, I think we're past that by many years. But I think there's still a part of us that needs to be affiliated with it. And when you're affiliated with that, you have to subscribe to all of that group's you have to go through the entire checklist, and and that's what's funny about it. You can go through and be like, yes, 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 no, and then that one no, the rest of the team or members of that team will be like, you're not one of us. It's like you can be so perfect. You can be the perfect candidate for that group, and you have one little checkbox that's not marked, and it's just they want to strangle you. And I think that says a lot about where our mind is at. And and if that's a crucial thing, like if you're part of a group where like your entire platform is, expanding rights for minorities, and that checkbox is like, I hate all minorities, it totally makes sense, that they would be angry. But oftentimes it's based on something very, very minor, a very, very small thing. And we look for those little discrepancies. We're searching for those discrepancies amongst ourselves, and then all we see in the other side, too, are discrepancies. We don't see the things that we connect with on the other team. We see all discrepancies, one big discrepancy, and that's just nonstop conflict. And I think the reason why I've started to value indifference is because indifference allows you to indifference is neutrality. That's all it is. And when we see indifference as hatred, or when we see indifference as something that is oppressing us somehow, we lose sight of the value of neutrality. And for me, just on a personal level, like talking about people hating themselves, thinking about people struggling with themselves, it's because they want to be happy. They should want to be neutral. They should want to be emotionally neutral or okay. Because if you're okay, that's just one step up from feeling bad. That's one step up from feeling negative. And if you can get just up one step, that is so much easier than climbing the staircase from depression or sadness to happiness. Climbing from sadness to indifference or neutrality is so much easier. And if you wake up and you just feel okay or indifferent, that's a good day. You know, if you're not feeling bad, then that's a good day. And if that's a good day, you can easily be happy. And if you're no longer happy and you just go down to indifference, then what's the problem? And I think that you can think about these emotions, this negativity and positivity, negative emotions and positive emotions. I think you can think of those as teams as well. And some people do, you know, it sounds funny, but it's very, very true. Some people do want to be on the negative team. Some people do want to be on the sad, angry team, myself included. As a creative person, you know, to me, the only real interesting creative output out there for me is always going to come from a dark and negative place, whether it's my own or what I'm interested in. It's always going to come from the abyss. I love the abyss. The abyss is the most interesting, fascinating thing. It's where all mystery comes from for me. I don't like painting mugs with flowers on them, you know. I don't like folk art that expresses the sun, and you know what I mean? I don't like that crap. I like stuff that comes from the abyss. And you access that stuff through negative emotions. So people do embrace negativity and sadness and anger and all these things for creative reasons, and they also embrace them because sometimes people don't feel anything. They want to feel something, so they embrace that too. They join the negative team because they want to feel something. But then on the other end too, it's like I hate to use the terms negative and positive because people will jump on the positive team but not be a positive person and not have a positive influence on people. Because how often have you met somebody who's trying really hard to be nice? They've decided that they're going to be a good person, but they make you feel like shit in doing so, and they actually spread more negativity because it's just superficial. They're just kind of like, it's almost this oppressive niceness or oppressive happiness, and it's not really coming from a pure place. And I think that's why there's, once again, a spectrum, and you can't treat these emotions as teams. And it's one reason why, as part of my own work in not being miserable, I've embraced neutrality, because I don't want to treat it like I'm joining one team or another. I want to be able to feel negative for my own reasons, whether it's for creative reasons, personal reasons. I want to feel sad if I lose a girlfriend that I liked or whatever. You know, I want to feel sad if someone dies. I want to embrace that. I want to revel in that because it's real, you know, and that's what I'm really all about, is reality. And that's what we should all embrace, is reality. But by approaching life from a neutral place, it allows me to go up and down. It's almost like an elevator, rather than like a staircase where you're having to just pound your legs up and down, and it's exhausting. So if I wake up and I feel okay and something makes me happy, I'm like, great. And if I'm no longer happy at the end of the day, I'm just neutral. It wasn't that big of a drop. I just kind of went down a little, and I'm just sort of chilling. I'm just hanging out. That's what being okay is. That's what being okay, that's what being neutral is. It's being, I'm just hanging out. I'm just hanging out, just doing my thing. I'm just hanging out and doing my thing, and you don't have to worry. This thing's going to end up really disjointed. I keep getting cut off because I tried to use my phone video. I don't really know what the timer is all about, so I'm going to have to find another way to do this if I do this again. But anyway, what I was saying is, neutrality, inner neutrality is just hanging out. You're just waiting for something to happen, and you can do things, though. That's the thing. You're not just waiting for something to happen. You can do that, but you can also do things, and those things will make you feel one thing or another. You can react. You can react in a much more natural way if you were just coming from a place of okayness or neutrality. And sitting here too, I'm constantly worried that I'm going to lose my train of thought because I understand this is all over the place. It might be hard to follow. I drank some coffee, I did my thing. But losing your train of thought is great. People worry about it. If someone's telling a story or like right now, if I were to lose my train of thought, that's neutrality. That's my brain going flat, but that's not a bad thing. That's just a sign that, hey, you lost your train of thought. You're no longer going one way or another. You're just hanging out. And I'm not just going to stand here and stare at the camera if that happens, because that'd be kind of weird. It's already weird enough. I'm a shirtless guy on a rug in red, white, and blue striped shorts, pacing around talking about all kinds of things. But really, you should just strive to come from that okayness. And I think you can apply that toward anything, toward yourself, toward your beliefs, toward all of this. And it gives you a clean slate to work from in any given moment, every single day. And it's been incredible for me to realize that. It seems so simple. It really seems so simple. But things that seem a certain way you don't necessarily feel that way. Something can seem simple, but to actually feel that is something entirely different. That's why somebody can repeat something over and over. But if they don't actually feel that, it's not going to really have any kind of impact. Or when you'll have some kind of epiphany, somebody will say something really simple to you, and you'll just have this epiphany that you feel like you should have had a million times. And I feel like that's how I feel about okayness. And I feel like telling other people about it, not because I want to preach. How do you preach about indifference? You can't. How do you preach about okayness? You can't. And I think that's the beauty of it. That's why you should approach life with this just base level, this flat line. That might be a little, maybe not a flat line. Don't think of that flat line, but maybe do, because death isn't so bad either. Death is what it is. It's natural. But if you just approach with that, the ups and downs, you'll go up and down. But if you strive to just be in that middle zone, you can deal with everything a lot better. Just hang out. And if you're just hanging out, plans will come. The plans will make themselves, and your emotions will go up and down, but you'll still have something to do. And you'll feel things and you won't feel things, and indifference won't be disguised as anything other than what it is. So just be okay. I think it's that simple. I really think that the key to everything balancing out is that simple. And and I think the beauty of indifference too, to me, is that with everything in conflict with each other, with so many wars, with so many fights, in every home there's a fight going on. Not every home, but in any given home a fight can be going on. In any relationship there's resentment, there's inward and outward aggression, and there's passive aggression, and there's all these conflicts constantly going on. It's just the nature of things. The nature of things is conflict. So because of that, why would you not want more indifference? Why would you not just want that middle ground? Why? It's like, to me, that's the real beauty of it, is that indifference is this middle ground but it's not like a compromise. It's not like it's compromising these two things. It's not like that. It's just sort of there. It's this middle ground that anything can walk on and anything can flow on, and it just moves. So in a world of such conflict, in a world where we both avoid and embrace conflict for different reasons, the ultimate goal should be indifference. The ultimate goal should be indifference. I just want to be indifferent. I want you to be indifferent. I want you to feel good sometimes and bad sometimes, but just to embrace life with this, what do you call it? Like okayness. It's like okayness. Anybody, any accent in the fucking world couldn't feel okay. Doesn't matter what your accent is. All people can come together and feel indifferent. It's the truth, though. That is one thing that we can all feel, no matter what side we're on, no matter where we are. We can all feel indifferent and use that to our benefit, so let's fucking do it. Let's fucking do it, man. Because we're all sick of it. We're all sick of everything else. I know that much. I know we're all sick of everything else. So let's hang out and be okay. Like that John Lennon song, right? No. Yeah, that was John Lennon's song, right? Like, Indifference, let's be okay. That's the name of it. Anyway, when did I become such a crazy new ager? with my crazy Buddhist thoughts about indifference. I don't know. But I'm going to go pick a fight. Be okay.